Today we will going to recap the next 3 chapters of Transmigrating to Another World once more. Like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting recaps like this. Jexengard appears asking his knights to defend the citizens while he takes care of those monsters. Jexengard grins thinking of defeating those lion-like beasts as a form of exercise for his body, ready to attack them. He starts fighting them off one by one with 2 huge axes in his hands while the citizens stand there impressed by the strength of their king. The Liocans start running away but Jexengard does not allow them to do that, and stomps his foot on the ground instilling a battle seal around him. Xion is shocked to see a battle seal being applied for the first time in his sight while Alita questions being foreign with the term. Xion explains that it's a transcendent ranked sword hire's ability to use his combat energy to apply a magic seal around him. Meanwhile, he uses his hand of a giant to finish them off and win the hearts of his citizens. Alita looks at the monster-like king while Xion nervously thinks of the powers and abilities of a transcendent ranked sword hire. Sihan just stands there unamused. Sihan figures out the scenario that all this chaos was planted here for the king to gain trust and support of his citizens. He understands this being the reason why they were stopped from fighting off the beasts, because that way the king wouldn't have been able to showcase his powers. He knows this would work for the citizens, but he is mad that Jexengard would stoop this low even though he used to have such a strong belief, even with his violent personality. It infuriates him to see his former ally act all arrogant and genuine while people cheer for him. That's when he connects some more shocking dots. He realizes that dumb Jexengard has no idea this was a planted attack. He looks at a pleasant Jexengard knowing that this was a show from his subordinates pleasing him while they mess with the state's affairs. Sihan stands there disappointed at all of this when Jexengard looks towards him with wide eyes, which scares Sihan. Jexengard finds him different and unusual knowing he hasn't seen that face before but just lets it go and moves back towards his palace. Sihan ponders to himself that even with that stupidity in his head, Jexengard's physical abilities are still up to the mark and haven't deteriorated a single bit. He decides that he needs to wait and work for the right time to reveal himself to Jexengard instead of doing it right away. 10 days pass while the 3 settle in He capital and work on themselves. Alita finally starts to understand the basics of thousands, change energy and gains control to slightly change her appearance. Xion learns about mountain breaking art from Sihan, a fighting technique that was created by Sihan himself. Meanwhile, Sihan worked on himself to improve his magic and combat energy and managed to increase it 3 times to that of when he came here. While the 3 kept working on themselves to be better versions of themselves, the king's knights announced that some evil pagans in Berselt have been controlling monsters to cause chaos and disturbance among citizens, so a team needs to be assembled for this expedition. The 3 look at the notice and Sihan questions about the pagans to which Xion explains that it's a clan of dimensions that worships Horus, the true god of the outside world, and even though they were subjugated by the tyrant king back then, looks like they have managed to reassemble their forces again. Sihan laughs and mocks those people to still be believers of religion but his amusement is cut short when Xion tells that they are called the second coming of Sihan. Those people believe that Sihan was the son of Horus and was summoned here to defeat the monster king who used to torture people. They believe Sihan wanted to take people back to his world, Earth, but before he could do that he was forcefully sent back by the 6 evil revolutionary heroes, his former friends, so he went back to Horus. Sihan listens to this agitated at the half-truth and half-lie. But he lets this go and talks the 2 into joining the expedition since Jexengard would definitely lead it on his own, and there will be lesser guards outside the capital so they can corner him much easily. At the assembling of the team, Count Keltrin introduces himself as the leader of the expedition throwing all of Sihan's master plan down the drain while Alita innocently mocks a dejected Sihan about it. Sihan thinks of the torture they'd have to go through due to the failure of their plan but then considers it an opportunity to work good enough to be in the sight of Keltrin and get a chance to approach Jexengard later. But Sihan also wonders how Jexengard missed such an opportunity to involve in physical combat. Keltrin, on the other hand, thinks of the pain he had to go through to convince his king to not rush into leading the expedition, and wonders what mess he's gotten himself into. Keltrin was actually asked for this expedition by Trendon of the Blue Ivory Tower. He was also asked to keep this issue a secret from Jexengard and deal with it using manpower other than official military. He was also offered 6 Magians and some Lion Knights to aid him, so all he had to do was recruit a small team and lead the expedition. Keltrin accepted this offer due to the debt on his head from the Blue Ivory Tower, so he leads his team to their aim. The pagan leader, Lakran, addresses his tribe, telling them that the non-believers have decided to fight against them, but they need not to fear, as according to their god, Horus, it is the death that gives them true freedom. A death that's not by selfish means, but for means of freeing others. He asks the ones chosen for sacrifice to step forwards and not be afraid. So 3 of the pagans step forward, foolishly happy to sacrifice their lives. Lakran summons the dragon of Horus to receive the devotion of those believers, who fascinate over the sight of the dragon, only to get literally consumed by the dragon the very next moment, as the form of some sacrifice. Lakran announces this as an accept of this sacrifice. Lukran thinks to himself that glad this trick succeeded this time too. He looks at the ashes of Heart of Lusclan blood that he owns and understands that these ashes, along with the sacrifices, will make the dragon suffice to his wishes for however long he wants. But he also wonders that he needs to keep the dragon to listen to him to fool the people he has coaxed into his agenda. He sadistically thinks of enjoying this till it all lasts. The expedition team camps at a spot in the forest, to which Xion worries of the disorderly state this team is in as compared to official military. He worries how they'll fight if they can't even maintain an order in simple team management. Alita listens to him and mocks him for being a high and mighty knight, not knowing the ways of such mercenaries. Xion listens to this and retaliates with a taunt to Alita's blue blood. They both stare murderously at each other when Sihan intervenes, telling Xion to watch his words, as someone hearing those words would be dangerous and troublesome for them. Xion panics at offending his Sihan and apologizes over it. Sihan changes the flow of conversation, telling them to eat, which excites Xion to cook for his ideal savior. As Xion prepares a stew, Sihan offers his disappointment at the redundant menu, to which Alita thoughtfully starts explaining how it has got all sources of nutrients, while Sihan wonders why is she even explaining all this. Sihan waves her off, telling he just doesn't find it good outside, to which Alita mentions that they're only eating to survive, not for flavor. Xion cuts them off, announcing their stew is ready, but to their shock, it tastes way more delicious than they expected. Xion pleasantly explains that cooking is his hobby, so he plays around with ingredients. Xion further explains that recipes are like precious treasures to chefs, and he'd be stressed whenever his palace chef would ask him for this vegetable stew recipe. They both listen to it while Alita fondly asks him for another bowl of it. Suddenly it starts raining, and everyone on the team just starts rushing into their camps to avoid rain. Sihan sighs, disappointed that it's harder to sense stuff in rain, and instead of anyone being on guard, everyone's rushing to a shade. Alita continues that the main power of that cult comes from the demons, so it's safer for them as beasts avoid rain. Xion explains that even so, someone should be on alert, as controlled beasts could be forced into rain against their wills. Sihan denied this, telling them that animal instincts can never be disregarded no matter what the control. Sihan confidently announces that no demon would move in this rain, only to himself exclaim a nervous enemy invasion. Demons enter their campsite, making Sihan wonder if things changed here in the last 10 years. The leader announces for everyone to make a circular formation for attack. One of the mercenaries attacks a demon, thinking they got one, only to be thrown away by it. The demons keep their stance even after being brutally injured, making everyone confused on their persistence. People realize that the control demons won't back off, and the only solution is killing them. Sihan orders others to start killing the demons off one by concentrating on one demon at a time. The mercenaries attack while the Lion Knights ponder over Sihan heavy a strong stance and being useful commanding the people. Amidst such a chaos, while a coward Keltrin just thinks of how those knights are supposed to protect him. The two keep on observing Sihan, smirking that a guy on this level could serve them very useful. Sihan and the others fight tirelessly, with those demons succeeding in defeating them. Everyone exclaims joyously over defeating 44 demons, while Sihan in the background wonders how all of the beasts appeared, and not a single of those tried running away. His mind cannot comprehend the possibility of magic controlling the consciousness of something to this extent that they have zero control left over themselves. He has never seen such a thing before. Sihan's eyes wander off to 4 Magians, discussing something very seriously, making Sihan realize that this wasn't just a simple expedition, and there was definitely more to it. Sihan grins at this. Coward Keltron orders everyone to keep their guard up or they'll be punished. People badmouth him behind talking about he hid during the attack and he only knows how to talk big. They curse at how their loss would have been reduced if they Lion Knights and Keltron participated. Even Zeon and Alita talk about his incompetence as a leader and his selfish behavior. Sihan, while fixing his tent, tells them that he's always been like that, causing both of them to turn their attention to Sihan, asking if he knows Keltron from before. Sihan adds he's only heard a little about Keltron from around, knowing that he's got the body of a sage and the mind of a beast. Zeon ponders over it, thinking maybe Keltron isn't as useless as it seems when he clicks that Sihan's statement about his body and mind sounds quite opposite than usual, to which Sihan chuckles that he didn't mix the example and Keltron is in fact dumb and coward, yet he's always managed to somehow survive all kinds of situations around him. Sihan mocks the fact that Keltron is a count now, while Alita wonders that there must be something about Keltron that he's reached such a status. Everyone is taken to Zard village where they are appreciated and told to relax for the night so their second expedition for the cult can begin the next day. Some mercenaries happily talk on how this has been the best treatment as the mercenary ever. Sihan hears the people and think on how they were badmouthing a day ago and are now happy with their leader. He compares this nature to his people back on Earth when Zeon announces their beds are ready to rest on. Sihan lies on his bed exhausted as ever and ready to rest when his name is called, causing him distress. Dina, the apprentice of Black Knighthood foreman, requests him to follow her since Magayon Habark and Higher Joldarin are interested in seeing him and his companions. She takes them to their rest area and is about to leave when she notices Alita's age and looks up to her for being in a fighter rank at such a young age. The three enter the room and are introduced to Habark and Joldarin, who show them a map pointing out the base of the cult they are aiming at. He tells them that the beasts were under a spell that had them completely under control, to which Zeon agrees, and tells it was his first time noticing the beasts not affected by rainstorm. They are impressed at some mercenaries noticing such details, and they ask them if they could keep a secret, to which Sihan confidently asks for their benefit in it. The Magayon, liking the stance, offers them 10 gold coins and tells them that the cult has only been using sorcery by sacrificing human lives in order to produce this control over beasts. He explains that sorcery is an unstructured and disordered form of magic that uses blood and lives to produce their spells. Sihan questions that has the cult been using sorcery instead of magic, to which Magayon denies, and starts to explain what's rather an embarrassing part for them, that this spell to control beasts has been a top-secret spell of the Blue Ivory Tower. He explains that a high-ranked Magayon Rockran used to be a part of Blue Tower's secret and dangerous experiments due to his talent and skills, but due to his desire to work on more and more, he accidentally let loose some dangerous subject beasts that they were experimenting on, receiving a 4-element punishment. The punishment being using fire, earth, water, and wind to execute the person. Zeon is shocked and calls out what kind of experiment could lead to such a sentence of execution, to which he is told to keep his words careful. Zeon suddenly panics and starts bowing an apology for crossing the line. The Magayon tells them they only need to know what the job is, so listen carefully. He further explains that somehow Rockran managed to escape his cell before execution, and not only that, he took a test subject along with him. A beast that has the power to put other beasts around him under its control. Sihan is shocked at this information. What they still don't know is that Rockran's parent has been a higher member of the cult that is second coming of Sihan, and the beast is being used to strengthen the cult's force. Joldarin then explains that the main motive of this subjugation is to execute that beast and remove the traces that link it to the Blue Tower, and they could use the skills of the three to succeed in the mission they're on. Sihan fakes an excited expression, acting that they're thrilled to be working with such high knights and Magayans, and he's sure that they together can take down even a dragon. Habark agrees and tells him that he is right about this. The beast they're going to defeat is in fact Dragon, the Earth Dragon. This leaves Sihan stunned and speechless. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Give it a big thumbs up, also your reviews in the comments section.